Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to make this class as fast as we can, and today we are going to be looking at authentication and authorization using JWT because we want to move to the next stage by requesting for a token for any user of our application to enter before the user can have access, right, to our database. Now, in this case, we are having two sets of users we are going to be using in this class. That is the admin and general users, right? The admin and general users. So the database we are going to be using is MySQL. So if time permits us, then we can actually look at using MongoDB as well, right? So we are going to be starting with MySQL database. Now, in that case, you could remember if we are using MySQL database, can you please just tell me very fast which of the object relational mappers are we going to use to map our application to the database? I want response very fast, right?
Sequelize.
Yes. Okay.
Can I get? Can you hear me?
Express framework. So let's have npm install what? Express, right? So then we are going to install what? Sequelize as well. Sequelize. So let's make it very fast. Okay. That is installing. That is installing, I have created a file here that is app.js. That is where our application is going to be running from. So we are all familiar with this. Our app is listening at this line 8 and 9. This is the declaration of the express here, which we are just installing, right? So that is completed and we have our port. Now, if you look at line 3, our port is inside the environment variable file, right? So which means that we need to what? We need to have a port env file where that our port is going to be what? Is going to be stored for it to be accessed by our application. So we are going to touch what? We're going to create .env, right? .env. Good. So we are going to create that. So we have our .env file. So all these are our modules that we are going to be using in this application. By the time we want to push our application to G, we don't want it to go along with it. So we want it to be reserved in a particular file which is called what? .gitignore. So in that case, we are going to install that. We are going to create that file too. That is touch what? .gitignore. I am doing this so that I can serve as revision. You know, as you write this code over and over, you get more familiar, and before you know it, it becomes your second nature. So that is why I'm going through this again very fast. I know we are all familiar with this, but we just need to do this. So touch .gitignore. So we have that as well. So we have that. So in our .environment variable, so we are going to have our port there. So port is equal to what? Which port are we using? Let's use port 5000, for example. Okay. Then also in our environment variable, okay, that is for the port. Let's stop there. Now for the gitignore, we want our environment variable as well, not only the node modules. So let's first of all keep our node modules, that is node underscore what? Underscore modules, right? Let's store it here. Not only that, we also want our .env, right, to also be stored. So now having this here means that when you are pushing your code to GitHub, the environment variable and the node modules we are installing will not go along with it. So that is taken care of. We have our port already. Now here, for us to be able to access this port here, we need to what? To require what? Please, can you please tell me? Okay, we need to install a particular package too. Let's install it. npm what? Install what? Which package are we going to install? Let's make it interactive very fast. In order for us to be able to access what the port that we kept in the environment variable. Yes?
I think don't M.
.env. Thank you very much. .env. Please, let's make this class as much as interactive as we can. So npm install .env. Okay, we have that. Okay, we are installing that. So as that is installing, we can now require it here. So we are going to require what? We are going to require .env, right? .env. Then you need to configure it at the same time, right? By saying .what? .config. .config, right? So that is that. So that is taken care of. So we require it, so we'll be able to access it through this port since we have this. Now, having done this, the next thing is for us to have the folders and files that we'll be using to make this our application work, right? We need some basic folders like where are we going to, we are going to connect this our application to database, right? Using this sequelize that we have installed. We are going to be connecting it, right? And apart from connecting it, we need a model that we will use to declare our table that we are going to store our data, right? Then we also need a seeder folder through which we can seed data directly into our database without actually making use of the words of the body of the request. Am I communicating? So now for us to be able to do this, we are going to make use of a tool of sequelize in order to do this. Are we there? What have I just said now? I said we need a what? A configuration folder through which we are going to connect our database to our application to the database. We are going to need what again? A model folder under which we are going to what? Create the model for our table, right? And also we will need what? A seeder folder that we can use to insert data directly, seed data directly without making use of the body of the request. So we need a particular tool to be able to do that. Who can remind me of that tool very fast? A particular package. We need a particular package of sequelize to be able to do that. Yes, somebody should remind me. I'm waiting. Are we there?
Yes, sequelize, star
Sequelize.
CLI.
Oh, God
Sequelize
bless you. That
CLI.
is Sequelize CLI. Thank you. So we need to install what? Install Sequelize CLI in order to be able to do that. It's a particular tool. You know, you write it like this, Sequelize CLI. npm install Sequelize CLI. So let's install that. That's what we are going to be using to
Your spelling
declare.
of install.
Okay, in spelling of install. Okay, I can see that. Okay, let's go back. Install, okay. npm install sequelize CLI. Thank you. So that is coming up. Okay, we need to wait for it because we are going to be making use of it. It's a CLI through which we are going to be running all the command of the sequelize, right? Okay, that is coming up. Okay, good. So we have our sequelizer. Now, in order to use our sequelizer, we're going to use this particular syntax, npx sequelize. Sequelize. Most of these things, if you forget this thing, you can always go to the documentation, you know, because it's possible you forget, you understand. So you make use of your documentation, you know, then you can actually get the command. So nps sequelize CLI. So what are we doing with the sequelize CLI? You are going to run this model model what? Generate. That's what we are going to do. Model. Okay, let's do before we generate nps sequelize init
Initialize
is what we are
first
going to
before.
run.
Yes.
Yes, initialize first, exactly. npm sequelize CLI init, we initialize all the folders that we need. So let's run that. npm sequelize CLI init. That is coming up. Okay, successful. Now you can see we have created a models, a migration, and a seeder, right? So now, if you look at your migration now, okay, you see nothing is there, right? If you check your model now, you are going to see a particular file there, index.js. Yes, index.js is there. And if you check your config folder, you are going to see config.json, right? Now, we are going to start with this config.json. What we are going to do now, if you look at it now, is a JSON what? It's a JSON file. We don't want it to be a JSON file there because we want to hide our username, password, database, host, and dialect, you understand, to our database. We want to hide all this information. In order to be able to hide it, we are going to change it to a what? To a JS file. So that's what we are going to do now. So I'm going to what? Rename it, right? I'm going to rename and call it a JS. A JS. So that is config.js. Now, if you look at it, there is a problem here because it's now a JSON, not a JS file. Now, what we do now is to make use of process.env in order to grab all our credentials, the credentials to our database, right? Mind you, what we are trying to do now is to connect to the database, which is MySQL database. So we need the credentials of this database, and that's what we are going to be processing here using what? Process.m. So because of that, we are going to first of all what? Require it here now. So we are going to require the .env, the .env, right? Dot what? Dot config, right? So we need it here. Now, having done that, so we can now begin to do the processing. But what exactly do we want to process? What we want to process is in the what? Is in the .m file. So we need to go back to our .m file and have all this information. So because of time, I'm going to copy and paste here, right? So that we can move very fast. So let me go to the previous work. Let me go to the .f. So we have the credentials here. Let me just copy here and paste in order to manage time, right? So let me just paste here. Okay, you can see we have all these credentials now. These are the credentials to my SQL database. So the host is the local host. You can see it here. Instead of 127.0.1, you can put local host here, right? That will also work. Then you have your root, that is the user. You have your password. Then you have your database name. Now, this is the database inventories which I have created in the MySQL to connect with, right? Then the dialect is what?
What
MySQL.
do you want? I can't
Remember,
hear
it
us.
can be Postgres, it can be you please. Ejo. Hello, hello, can you still hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Hello?
Like you just, I cannot hear you
Okay,
first.
okay, 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 good. Now
We can't hear you.
you can hear me.
Hello?
Now, these are the credentials to the database which are there. So we are going to be connecting to the what? To the database. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Like I think it's your network. It's fluctuating.
Hello? It's fluctuating. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. Let me continue now. Okay. Um, okay, good. Can you still hear me now? You can hear me loud and clear, right? Okay. So let me just this processing now. Let me just copy it so that we can move very fast as well. So let me come here and do that. So we all this. So I want us to move because we have a lot to discuss, right? Let me delete this one and put this one here. Control V, right? Okay. This is the username, password, and all that. So we have that here, right? So this is now the JS file. Okay. Let me copy this one too. So we are going to make it export. Okay. Because we need it. So we are going to put module dot exports. So that is what you are going to do now and say equals to, right? So we are exporting the whole of this. So once you put module dot export equals to, you can see all the red lines are out. So we can now make use of this. Now, this is the development. Now you can use this key development to grab all this value in your configuration. Are we there? Now, what we do now is that we have been able to access all our credentials. So let's come here into the configuration folder. I'm going to create another file now that we are going to use to connect. So let me call that file sequelize dot what? Dot .js, right? I'm going to import some function of the sequelize, that is sequelize, then, and that will be equal to what? Require what? Sequelize. So now, what did I want to do this? Why am I bringing this sequelize now instance? Because I want to create an instance of sequelize and connect it. So I'm going to come here and say const what? Sequelize. It's going to be equal to what? New sequelize. Are we there? So now this new sequelize is an instance of sequelize, right? To pass your credentials. And what is your credentials? They are stored in where? In this config file. So because you have exported here, this configuration file now, you are going to what? You are going to import it here, right? So here, I'm going to come here and say what? Const what? Config. I want to import that configuration now. Config to be equal to what? Require what? So we are going to pass the path here, right? Which is dot what? Slash, that is config, right? So you have that. So here, what you will just do is to call this particular config now. This config file, you call it here and say config, then dot what? What are you grabbing there? You can see VS Code has given you the content. You have development, you have production. So what we need is the what? Is the development. So config.development. So running config.development now, what does it do? It grab all these credentials here, right? And store it here. Do you get it now? So that is exactly what you have done. Now, having created your instance of what? Of sequelize. So with this now, your sequelize is connected automatically to the database with this. This line 5 now, what it does is to connect what? Your sequelize instance now to what? To your database. Because in this development, config.development, you have the what? You have all the credentials. Are we there? Together. Is that clear?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, please let's be responding. I want to be very sure you are following, please, so that if my voice is out, I can be very sure I've been speaking to myself, right? Thank you. So let's move on. The next thing for us to what is to import, right? So we are going to what? Module. We are going to export this, rather module dot what? Dot export. Export. So what are we exporting? We are exporting the what? The sequelize, right? So we are exporting this. So because we are exporting this, we need, what do we want to do? Why are we exporting it? We want to test the connection of this sequelize. We want to test it. How do we do that? So you go to your main app now, this app.js. Now we are coming back to this app.js and then we now import it here. Sequelize. require what? That part to the sequelize, which is what? Dot what? We are here app.js, so dot we the config then slash what? Slash sequelize. Do you get that? So please, whenever you are actually trying to grab a part, please always look at where you are coming from. From app dot, then we enter into this config folder. Then from config folder, we enter into what? Into sequelize. So we have been able to import it here. Then what do we want to do? App declaration here. So you come here and say, let me test. How do you test it? There's a particular function. I want you to remind me now. What is that method of sequelize we are going to use? Remind me. There is a method of sequelize we use to test if our sequelize is connecting the application to the database. Yes. Yes. You can remind me there is a particular function we are going to call, a method we are going to call now. Yes? Anybody?
Dot authenticate.
Okay. Can you hear me? Somebody else said it. Can I hear again?
Dot authenticate.
By dot what? Authenticate. Thank you. So we are going to authenticate it here. Now, this authenticate is a promise. So dot then and dot catch in order to test if the connection passes or not, right? So we are going to say sequelize dot authenticate then dot what? Dot then, right? Dot then. Then dot then is going to take a callback function, right? We are all and inside dot callback you can now console.log and console.log. What are you consoling? You are saying database connection is what? Is successful. So you can say that. Then you can have dot catch as well, right? Dot catch. Then dot catch is going to take what? It's also going to take a callback function, right? Are we there? So then inside dot catch, you are going to pass that error, right? So you are going to pass that error as argument into dot catch because we want to catch the error, right? So you can now console.log as well. Console.log. Then you console.log what? Database connection failed, right? So then alongside you can now say comma and pass the what? And pass the error. Do you get that? So this is testing your connection, right? So let's quickly test this. Let's quickly test this. Let's quickly test this. So we have connected. So the first thing you do at this stage is to test if your application has connected before you start writing further. So let's run our application and say node app.js and see if everything works at start. Okay, what happened? What happened here? Throws an error. Throws an error. Please install module name package manually. Okay, we have not installed a driver. Yes, there is a MySQL driver that actually drive this application. Okay, we have not installed that. Let's do that. So there is a driver that drives this process, which is MySQL 2. We have not actually installed it. So let's do that now. npm what? npm install MySQL2, right? So let's do that. Okay. Okay, so let's now run our node now. Okay, now passes now. You can see app has started running and database connection is successful. You can see it's very fast. Why is it so fast? Because our database is on our local system, right? So if it is on the cloud, it can take a while before you can have this message database connection is successful. So we are going to be using that. We are going to be using Atlas Cloud when we want to use MongoDB. Then you can now see the difference between this fast connection and slow connection. Is that clear now? So our database is connected. So what is the next thing now? The next thing is for us now to start the work. This is now we want to start, right? So now the first thing we are going to do now is to go to our config.js. Now let this index.js now. You can see this configuration is .js. So you come to this index.js, you are going to edit something here. Please don't forget this. I almost forgot. You can see the configuration requirements here is what? To config.json. So you are going to change this one to JS now. Please don't forget to make this edit unless you are going to be having issue. So it is config.what? .js now. Good. Now that as be it that is may, um, let me disconnect. Control C. So it's connected now. Now we need to create a model now. That's the next thing. After connection, you now create a model. You declare a model for your connection, right? And this model we are going to be connecting now is going to be for the what? For the user. Let's start with the user because we are going to need a model for user. We will need a model for product that we want to, sell in the company. Then we will need a model for the admin, right? These are the three models we are going to be developing now very fast. Do you understand? Now, in order to create a model, so all these routes, the user route, the admin route, and the what? And the product route, we need them. We need them. They are very important because we are going to be making use of the model through your route first, then you go to the model. So either way, right? So, but let's do this. Let's start with the route. Let's start with the route because we are all we let's say mp what mkdir users. So that is the user. Which one do we need again? We need admins. Okay, admins folder mkdir. Which one do we need again? Products. We need product. So these are as folders, right? This is admin now. It has been created. We have products and we have the users. Are we there? Now let's start with the users. In these users now, we are going to be creating three files there, right? The first file we need there, is what? Is the users user dot what? Dot .js. So we need that user dot route dot .js. Okay, that's clear. We need another file there. Let's have it. We need user dot what? Controller for it dot .js, right? User dot controller dot .js. So then we need another one inside the folder as well. So which is what? We need user dot what? Dot middleware dot what? Dot .js, right? So we need user.middleware.js. So these are the three files that you need for the user's route. Are we there? Now we are going to start with the user route because that's where everything is going to be connecting from. So as usual, let me just copy and paste so that we can move very fast at this level. User route. So we are all familiar with how to declare our route. So I will not be wasting time with that. Where is that user route? Say? User dot route. Okay, so this is the user route. I'm going to copy all this and paste. Copy, right? This is the user route. So we are familiar with this express. Then we require the middleware at this level. Okay, this one is not in this one so that we don't have this error here. So now, because we are going to require the middleware and the controller, we understand our controller here is user.middleware. So let me just change it. So we are going to be having user, let me just say dot slash. So user.middleware. So here is going to be dot slash user.controller. Okay. So we have that imported. Now, listen to me. Now, at this users, we want to create a sign up for the user. And we want to create a login route for the user. So it's going to be a post request. This user route. That means whenever we are using this route, sign up, then we want this to happen. We want to call middleware.validate user. So whatever request, whatever anybody that is coming to create his information, sign up is creation. You are creating users into your database. Now, anybody that is coming to create, after validating those information, you enter your name, your password, your email, your address. Now, validate user is a function that we check if they meet up with the specifications that we want, right? Then controller is now going to create the user. So this is what we are going to build now for creating users. Then after creating users, we are going to build line 8 too. And what is line 8 doing? Line 8 wants to log in. After signing up, you need to log in to carry out some functions, carry out some operations. Any of the CRUD operation you want to, have access to the product, create product, get the product, delete product, update our product, what that is what we are selling, right? Now, for you to be able to do that, you need to. So now the first thing we do is to validate logged information. Those information you want to use to log in, we validate it first. After validating them, we can now what? We can now log in, right? We can now log in with those information. So we are going to build these 4 functions now: validate user, create users, validate login for, and login. We are going to create that. So please, did we get the scope before I move on? Did we get the scope? Any question at this?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's very good. So we can move on. Now, the next thing is for us to validate the user. So let's go to the middleware, which we have created here to validate the what? The user. So I'm going to click on here and we are going to define that function. So what is that function? Is going to be what? Const validate validate user, right? Will be equals to, is going to be a callback function now. Let's make it a callback function. So like this, okay, I need an arrow here. Okay, good. And inside this function, we are going to pass request and what? And response. Then is a middleware, right? Is a middleware. Now here, within the body of the middleware, we are going to make use of try and catch, right? Because this is what we are going to be doing here. We are going to be making use of try and catch, right? We are going to be making use of try and catch, and is going to be a promise because we are going to be using we are going to be making use of a particular package joy in order to be able to do the validation, right? I wouldn't have even tell you and ask you, right? We are going to be making use of joy to do this validation. That is the third party library we are going to be using here, right? So let's make a try now. We are going to have a try. That is, if this passes, then we can move. But if what we want to pass into the body of try does not work, we can have a catch. Please don't forget the syntax. Your catch is going to have a parenthesis that we pass the error inside it, right? then before you now have your curly braces, then you come down here, right? Please get the syntax very well. Try, then catch. Catch is going to have a parenthesis that will catch the error. Then you can now have the response message for your error here, right? So let's start with try. So what are we trying? We want to validate. We want to validate. So in order to be able to validate, we are going to make use of joy, as I said. So meaning that what? We need to import joy here. But mind you, we have not installed joy at all. So we need to come here and what? Run npm install what? Install joy, right? Npm install joy, enter. So we need joy to be able to do that. Okay, good. So we have our joy. Then what do we do with our joy? We declare that joy. We declare an instance of user for the joy. You know, the joy is going to be a schema now, right? So we are now saying, okay, let's declare this schema. What is going to be the schema? The schema is going to be const what? User schema. Let's call it user schema because we are declaring a schema for user now. Const user schema will be equal to what? Yes, joy dot what? Who can remind me? For the instance of joy, joy dot what?
Job object.
Object. Thank you very much. Joy dot object, right? Then you have your parenthesis. So this is the method of joy that will create the object for you. So what we are trying to do now is to make use of this joy method called object. Please don't forget this. Object is the method that you are going to call on joy in order to be able to what? To create a schema, whether user schema, whether product schema, whether admin schema, in order to be able to validate it. So please let's import our joy first. Const what? Joy to be equal to what? Require joy, right? So we have our joy already, right? So now inside this joy now you want to validate. You want to validate. So you are going to have your parentheses. Can you see? You can see the first thing. You know, you are saying joy dot object. So inside this object method, you are going to have this curly braces, which is for objects. So anytime you are actually having, you know, this represent object, we all know that, right? So you are going to pass this first, then you enter. Then what are the objects you are validating? You are validating some informations for the users, right? And what are those informations we need for the users? We need the what? This is sequelize. Remember, you are not going to have an ID by default, so you need to validate the ID, right? You need to validate the ID. ID, this is ID. For the ID, you are going to have a curly braces here, right? And inside, okay, not really. For the ID now, once you say ID, then you are going to say joy dot what? Dot string. You can see it's already bringing it out for you because you already have joy installed. So you are going to have joy dot string, which means that the type of the ID is going to be a what? A string. So what we are saying is that whatever ID that is coming in, that the user is passing, it must be a string. That is the validation setting now. That I don't want number, I want it to be a string. That's the meaning of that. Mind you, it's going to be a function. So you are going to pass this what? Parenthesis. Then dot what? What do we want to check about the ID again? We want to check empty. We don't want it to be empty. In case anybody enter empty, maybe you want to create yourself as a user and you did not feel the joy, you did not feel it at all. This empty is going to take care of that. We want it to be empty. We don't want it to be empty. Then dot what again? Required. It has to be what? It has to be required. These are the functions we can pass, right? So these are the basic functions you need. Dot string, dot empty, dot required. Yes. Then, very important, you need dot messages. Dot messages. Because we want messages, you know, we want responses. In case this thing fails, the person does not enter string or the person does not enter ID at all, this dot message is going to be the message that is going to be displayed. You know, that is going to make your application to be user friendly. If you don't have these messages and there is an error, it will be very difficult to trace the error. The user will not know where the error is coming from. So that is why you need these DOS messages. And these DOS messages, please watch the syntax very well. Is somehow technical. I want you to watch it very well. So the first thing you are going to have is a curly braces inside it, right? In order to, to embed all the messages. Are we there? Then you can now press enter. So after enter, then what do you have? You have this code where you are going to enter string, right? Dot base, because this string is the basis of everything. So you run string dot base and you put what? You put colon. Are you there? After your colon, then you can now have your message. That your message, you can embed it in a part, in a what? In a backtick. So I'm going to have a backtick here. Can you see the backtick? Then in the backtick, you can now say, okay, have this and say string, not string, ID, right? You can say ID, you can say ID must what? Must be of type what? Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. You know what? Because there's something I'm supposed to do before now. You see this ID now. Hello? Are we together? Please let me get a response. Are we together?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. I'm not going to be validating ID again. Do you know why? Because ID is going to be automatically generated. So the user does not need to enter ID. We are going to automatically generate it. So I'm not going to validate ID now. Let me start from the first information from the user, which is the username. Let me start from the username. Let me validate username first. So instead of ID here, I'm going to use username. Username. So username must be of what? Of type what? What is the type? The type is text. You can put this in the quote as well, of type text. So look at this. Look at this very well. Please, let's get it. This is the syntax. So for the message, as I said, you have curly braces. You embed all the messages in a what? In a curly brace. So you now have string dot base. That is this username that is string dot base. The basis of it is that what? It must be of type what? Of type string. Then you can have comma, then you enter, then you have our next validation. Our next validation is going to be what? Yes. Can you please remind me of the attribute password? We need password of the user, right? Password of the user, we are going to validate that. Then the same thing, you have your what? You have your backtick. Then inside the backtick, you have a quote again where you now enter password. Say password.
I think you're making a mistake.
All the messages, right? Okay, sorry. Okay, let me see. We have checked for the string, Gabby. Okay, okay, okay. So
In that password. You
yes, I
are
get it. We are going to have string
validating
dot
it.
what?
You're
Dot
typing it
empty.
inside.
Yes. I've seen that. Thank you very much. So we have not gotten to password. We are still typing messages for each of these validation, right? For the string empty required and message. So here we are going to have string dot empty as well, right? For this empty. So here we are going to have backtick again. Then what do we say? We say username and not the what? Be empty, right? So you can have this as well. So you have your comma as well. Come down again. So you can have what again? String dot what? Dot required. Then here, hello, can you see hear me? Hello?
Yes, we are with you.
Okay, you are with me. Okay. Then here we can say username. Username what? Username is required here. So that's the message, right? So now we are done with the username. Then we can now come after this now. Okay, this is for the username, right? So we can now come down again and ask for the what? For the password, right? Password. So I'm going to copy and paste at this stage, but I want to get the first one. So when I copy and paste, it's just the same thing we are going to be repeating, right? To check for every other attribute of the what? Of the user schema. So this is for the username. As I said, you are going to check for it being string. You are going to check it for it being empty, required. Then you have messages for each of string, empty, and required, right? So now for other attributes of the user that we are going to be expecting when the user is making request, I'm going to copy and paste that so that we can move very fast. So let me check. User middleware. Okay, let me check. Yes, I'm going to be copying all this. Control copy and come here. Okay. Okay. Is there anything missing? Okay, is a comma here. Comma. Good. Now look at this. Let me alt shift this so that you can see very alt shift F. Let me edit it. Okay, good. Has been edited. Let me bring this down so that we can see it very well. Okay, can you see all this validation now? Let's look at it one by one. This is for the username. We are checking string empty required and messages. Now for the password, we are also checking string empty required. Then we have minimum here. We are checking it because we want a minimum of 8 character for our what? For our password. That is why I'm putting minimum to be 8 here. So you can also validate this as well. Then you can see when we are typing a message for that, we said password should have a minimum of length of 8. Now look at the syntax. This value must be inside a curly brace. If you don't put it here, you are going to have issue. It will not work. The message will not come. Do you understand? So this is what you are going to have. So let's get this very well. So let's move to the next one. Can you get that? Now the next one for the email. Look at this email very well.
Hi, I have
Hello.
I have a question.
Okay. Let me have
Can
your
you
question.
can you scroll up?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Const validate user is equal to uh, into parentheses
Okay.
equality
This one is even
response.
next. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
want to know. Yeah.
Okay, this one have been next.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I've seen it as you are talking. I see that's a typo. Okay, thank you. So now you can see we have minimum of 8. Let's go to the email. For the email, please, it's very important. You are going to put .email as part of what you are checking. And what this .email is going to check is that if the user is passing a text that is not an email format. You know, email format, you always have at gmail.com or at yahoo.com. So if you are passing a text that is not in that format, this .email will take care of it. And if you notice here, I'm not even writing any message. Message for that internally, a message is going to be displayed for that internally. So you don't need to pass a message for that. So, but you must have an email format in the recent. Do you understand? So all this is to ensure integrity of our database so that we don't have wrong data in our database. It's very, very important. Please, you need to really master the use of Joy very well. So now that is that. Then we can have phone number as well. So we need to validate that as well. So check for string empty required. Then you have the message, dot the same thing, right? Then for the address, this is for the gender. Yeah, let's note the gender. There's a difference here. Line 41. Now for the gender, you are going to run dot string dot valid because we are having option of only male and female. So if the user enter something else, maybe you just go and enter boy or a, ensure that what is being passed for gender we can only be male or what or female. So this is how you validate that. So you put dot valid to check that. Is that clear?
I have a question,
let's look.
please.
Okay.
Sorry, about the email. Yeah, the email. What
About
about
the email,
if
okay.
we usually have .com, .net? So how do we specify that? Like, how do you validate that? If someone is using .com, .net, different types of what's it called again?
Email.
Yeah, you understand what I mean?
Email. Okay.
Yeah.
You mean email will come as .com, .net?
Yeah, I mean, some people have .com, some people use .net. You understand what I mean? Different types of email. Is there a way to specify it, or it doesn't matter?
Well, anyway, this at dot where is it self? Dot email. Okay, that dot email, is going to check that. Is going to check that if it is a valid email or not. This will take care of that, right?
Okay.
So whatever extension you are having for your email now, this dot email is going to validate it if it's a valid email. So it's an internal this thing, from Joy to be taken
All right.
care of. So let's move on. So
All right.
we are going to check for city, just the same thing. For state, just the same thing. For country, just the same thing. So we have that. Then here we are going to catch our error. So let's have our error message here. So when there is error, what will happen? In case, all these things you are checking, there are some errors. There are some errors you will not be able to catch. So we want Joy to catch those errors for us, and that is why we are going to have this catch, right? So what we need a response for that. Response dot what? Dot JSON. No, sorry. Response dot status. Dot status. So what's going to be the status? Can somebody remind me? There is all this. If the validation fails, what is going to be the status? Yes. You are entering a wrong value. You are not validated. You are not meeting up with the specification. What is going to be the status? The status code for that. Anybody? Hello? Please hold on, please. I'm coming. Yes, are we there? Who has the answer? What's the status code? Okay, because of time,
Sorry,
it is
not
going
get
to
the
be
question.
422. It means it is not processable. We cannot process that data, right? So it's going to be 422. Then we can have dot what? Dot JSON. Then inside the JSON, you are going to have what? You are going to have your curly braces. In that curly braces, you are there. The message is going to be what? Invalid information, right? Invalid information because it has failed what? It has failed validation, right? So then you can also what? You can also print out the have too much. We don't need to print all the errors. We only need the message from the error. So you can just say error what? Error dot message, right? So this will only give you the what? The message. So you can only have error dot message. Okay, if this is error. Okay, let me pass error here. Error. Okay, so you can have error dot message. Please, do we get this catch now? Do we get this flag? Please let me get a response. Do we get that? Hello? Are we
Yes,
there?
yes.
Okay, that's very good. So we have that. We'll be able to catch our error. So this is how you do your validation, right? This is how you do your validation. So then this validate user is a function. So please, mind you, there's something we have not actually enter there, and that is if it passes. Can you imagine? You have done all your validation. Before you catch the error, you need to what? You need to have a next. You need to have a next. So here, you are going to have next. You are going to have, okay, sorry, it's not inside. Let me see. Uh, okay. So when you try here, so this is the green. So after this, okay, that's the green. So you need to watch where you are putting it very well. Okay, it's going to be after this. It's going to be after this. So it's going to be here. This is where you are going to have your next. So do you get that now? So you have your next here. Let me space it so that it can be clear. So you have your next here. So that is after trying. So after trying, then you have your next, then you can now catch, right? If there is error. So then you can now import, you can come down here and what? And export it. So you can say what? Module dot what? Dot exports equals to what? Equals to validate user, right? So mind you, is a function, right? So you are going to put it inside curly braces because it's a what? It's a function. Please don't forget that it's a function. So validate user, right? So now this is the middleware that check what? That check what you have as data to be passed, to be created, right? So you can come to your user route again and you will discover that it is active. Can you see that? The validate user is active already because we have actually imported here. We have imported here. Now, the next thing for us to do is to create user, right? We need to create user. Now, in order to be able to create user, we are going to be making use of what? Of the model. Please get that. For you to create user, you need the model of that user to be able to create user. So the first thing we are going to do is to go and define a model for the user, right? Please. So what I will do now is that I'll be coming here. Hello, are we there? Hello,
Please social this remove it go.
hello. Who is making noise there? Please mute your mic. Okay. Model. Please, I want you to understand this thing because one thing will always lead to the other. So because we want to create user now, as I said, we need a model that represents the table of that user in our database. So the first thing we need to do is to declare that model first, to define that model first. So what are we going to do? We will go and create a model now for the users. How do we do that? Our sequelize CLI is going to help us to do that. Now, how do we do that? You run your what? Your MP, let me just go back here. You see it here. I think I've run it before. Okay, good. So you have MPS sequelize CLI. Are we there? So you will now say model generate. Model generate. Can you see that? Please let's get the syntax. NPS sequelize CLI, that is general, that's the command we are using. Then we want to create a model now. So we now say model generate. Can you see? Now, when you generate model, the first thing you have is hyphen name. You need to give that model a name. And what is going to be the name of the model? The model is what? User. Please note, capital letter U. Model starts with capital letter, right? It is the table that starts with small letter, but the model is going to start with capital letter. So hyphen name user. That is the what? The name of the model, right? Then what again? You need the attributes for that model because that model will have attributes. So you can say hyphen attributes. Can you see? Capital letter S, because it's not going to be a single attribute. Hyphen attribute, then you have your attribute again. So what are going to be the attribute? You need username, Abi. Username. Okay, we are going to need ID first. underscore ID.
Please, sorry. Please, sorry. What are you trying to do? I'm a bit lost here.
Okay, you are lost. Okay, let's come back. Let me come back here. Do you get it to up to this validate user, which we use
Yes,
join?
yes.
Okay,
Yes,
then the next thing is that we want to create user.
okay.
We want to create user. You know, after validating the information of the user in the body of the request, then the user can be created, right?
Okay.
Now, in order to create the user, you need a model to be able to do that. You need a model that represents your table to be able to do that. Just keep that. Don't worry, you are going to understand later. So
Okay.
just master that word. Before I can create a user, or I can create a product, or I can create an admin, or any other thing, I need a model to do that. I need a user model to create users information. I need product model to create product informations. Information. Master that. Now, in order to create that model, there is a command that will help you to do that. That is what I am running. Do you understand?
Yes. So without this command, the mode, what I'm asking is, I'm sure you were
Do
going
you
to
understand?
like create a user in another folder. Like there's a model folder. Is that not where it's supposed to be? Like the controller folder, something like that.
Okay, we have a model folder here, right, Abby? But
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have user model there. The models is just a folder where we are going to have all our models inside it for this application.
Okay, I get it. I get
We
it
have
now. I get it.
index.js, which is the root of everything, right? The index.js is
Okay,
a
I
foundation.
I get it now. I
Going to be
understand. I
relating.
get it.
Good. God bless you. Now we can now what? We can now use this command now to create the model. Do you understand? Manually, you can come here and just say, okay, let me create a file and call it user.js, then add my model. Of course, you can do that. Of course, you can do that. But there is a command that assists us in sequelize. Because in sequelize, we are not only creating a model, we are generating a migration file alongside with it. Get that? So the more reason why you cannot do this here, you have to make use of this command. Because sequelize has what we call migration file that help you track all your migrations. It's just like a version control system. Don't worry, I will talk more on that. Let me create the model, then I will explain more. Is that clear? Now, hyphen attribute, then we have ID, then for the ID you have colon, you have colon, be a string, right? Then you have comma. Then what do we have again? Username, Abby. Username, colon, then you specify is going to be right. Then comma, what again? Password. Password. Then you specify that is going to be what? A string. Are we there? Are we together? So this is what you do. So this is going to generate it. Please let's look at the syntax very well before I run it. So nps CLI model generate hyphen name user, which means the name of the model you want to create is going to be user. Then these are the attributes of that user model: string, username, password. Then we have others, which we are going to be inserting manually. So you can just stop here. We are going to be putting others there, right? So let's enter. Can you see? New model was created, right? Then new migration. You can see what I told you now. You can see alongside with the model, we have a the migration folder now has a content inside it, which is the migration file. Do you get that? Then inside the model, can you see now we now are we there? Are we together? Hello? Are we together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I move on? I don't want us to be confused. The essence of this class is to simplify this thing. So if there's any confusion, please raise alarm. I want us to understand this thing perfectly. It's very simple, right? Now, we can now come to the user.js now. User.js first so that we can define our model. So if you enter here now, you will see, look at it. This is what we just specify in the command. Let me bring this one down so that you can see it very well. Can you see? ID, username, password. Can you see? That is what we just specified, right? Then if you come to the migration file, let me click on the migration file now. Migration, can you see? ID, can you see? ID comes automatically with the migration file. And this is the one we specified, right? So we are just going to delete one, the one we need. Do you understand? We are going to delete it. So please note that your migration file will come automatically with an that, right? So I intentionally put that so that you can see that it can be generated. Now, then we have our normal username, password. Then another thing that comes with the migration is created at and updated at. That one comes by default, right? So now, before I move on, I have a question now.
Please, I have a question.
Okay,
Please,
ask your own question.
how did this migration folder, how did it come by? Is it after you ran that command? I mean this folder, the
Yes,
migration
now,
folder itself. Is it
immediately
after you
I
ran
ran
the
that command, I showed
command?
you
Like
now.
was it
Look
the
at
command
it.
that created the folder and everything? Okay.
Yes, it's the
Yes.
command. Look at it here. Can you see? Come to the terminal. Look at the first one. New
Okay.
model was created. Then see the second line. New migration was created.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
You get
Yeah,
it now.
thanks.
Thank God. Good, good. So you can see it is the command that created it. The more reason why you can't come here and create it manually in sequelize. You can do that when you are using MongoDB, right? But when you are using sequelize, you need this sequelize tool so that the migration file, because the migration file relates with the model file, they are working together. Do you understand? Now, my question is this: what is the relationship between the user model here and the migration file here? The user file here, which is the model, and the migration file here. Who can tell me the relationship before we move on, please? I want a response. Anybody? Yes, yes, yes. Let's move very fast. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Suleiman.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
So
Lola?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to say rubbish. Yes. Good evening. I don't know
No,
if I
you
want to
cannot
say
say
rubbish
rubbish.
because I
We are
just
all
joined.
trying. Oh,
Yes.
okay,
So
okay, okay. You are welcome.
I think what you did is the relationship between the model file and the other the model file and the
Migration.
migration folder is that the model file is for creating the user, like to create the records of the user, put in what you want the user to know, like the first name, last name, and co. Then the migration folder is for validating the user.
No, 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 no.
Okay,
No,
okay, okay. I think
that is not correct. Okay.
let me I think the user is just the
Mm-hmm.
template of your schema. Then the
Okay.
migration file is keeping record of the user. Is tracking it, kind of tracking it. Any changes will be tracked in
Oh,
the migration file.
right. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear
Like
you.
like a version control, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Like if
So,
in the sense that maybe you made a change to the schema, like, or
oh, okay,
you are
okay.
adding something, you can revert either forward or backwards to your previous stage.
Enough. I Okay, okay, I can get that. You are very correct. You are very correct. Thank you very much. So now the user model here is a template for the schema, right? For what we have in our table. You are going to have a table that we have all this column: ID, username, password, created as. Now, this user is the template for it, is the one representing it, right? Now, it's just like a foundation, right? For the table. for the table. Now, in order to create the table now, this migration file will be the one to create the table. This is the creation of the table. Okay, we are not even creating. Okay, let me show you something. In this migration file, let me show you something now. Look at this. Look at line 5. Can you see create table here? So that is to tell you now that it is the migration, whatever we want to happen, right? At times, it may not be creatable. It may be hard column. You see, let me do something now. If I press dot here now, you will see dot. Can you see? Hard column. Creatable is somewhere here. Let me come. So you can do so many things. You can do bulk update, change column, lot of things. So it is the migration file that is actually working. But the model here is just like a template. Like, okay, are we there now? I think that is very clear now. So let's have our create table back. Create table. So this is the creation of the table. Now, I will go back to the model now. Let me start with the model because that is the foundation now. Please, let's note this model. As I said, to be creating our user. That is where we left. Remember, we left here from the user route. Don't let us forget where we are coming from. We left here. We wanted to create user. But I just told you now, but because before you can create user, you need a model. And this is the model here. Right? Now, this particular model, now, let's go back there now. Can you see the model now? Now, there are different formats for this model. There is a particular format we use for development environment.
I have a
And there
question
is
now.
okay. Ask your
I have a
question. Ask your
question.
question.
Now,
Okay.
my question is that when you were creating the middleware, can, can you hear me now?
Hey, I can hear you again.
When you were
Okay.
creating the user schema,
Yes, I can hear now.
okay, so there is other
Yes.
attributes that you made that was created, like gender and so on. But when you are now creating the model,
Okay.
there is only, can
Hello.
anyone hear me
Hello.
now?
Yes, I get where you are coming from. Those attributes, I am writing them now. They are going to be here in the model.
Okay,
Do you get
okay.
that? Yes. That's what I want to do now. Yes, thank you. That's very correct. It shows you are following. Now, where I stop is that this particular format now, we are not going to use it. This format is used for production environment. So we are going to use the format for development environment. Now, what is the difference? If you look at line 16, line 16 is saying, okay, let's start from line 6. Line 6 is saying class user extend model. That is the syntax here. Then at line 16, we have user.init. Remember, our model is called user. So through this class user extend model, right, then we can now have a class for the model. Then user.init. So we are not going to use this. We are going to use it for development environments. So maybe later, later we can come back and discuss about how to make use of this. Delete all this now. I'm going to delete all this, right? Now, what we are going to be using is what? Is user.init. Sorry, we are going to be using user.def. Okay? We are going to be using user.define. That's what we are going to be using. But the definition we want to make, we need a particular instance to be able to do that. And what is that instance? Hello, are we there? We are going to need that sequelize here. Okay, because of time, let me do this. Let me do this. User model. Where is it? User model. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to copy and paste so that we can move very fast here. Are we there? Are we together? I'm going to copy here.
Yes.
Okay, good. So good. I'm going to copy and paste here. Control V. Yeah, I have it now. So look at it from the beginning. Now, look at line 6. This is the main thing now. I am using sequelize. I'm using sequelize. What is the instance of sequelize that we created when we are connecting our database? Come here, look at it. Can you see here? You know, we use this sequelize now instance to connect to the data to connect to the database. Sequelize that has been connected to the database, you know, the sequelize instance is stored in this variable called sequelize. This sequelize is stored there. So we are going to export this now and use it to define the model. There must be that connection. Please, let's get that. There must be that connection. So we are using this sequelize instance, which has been connected to the database, right? Through this line. I have explained this before. We are exporting it and now using it to define our model. Let's come to our model again. Where's the model? User.js. Now, can you see? We are now using it here, line 6. Just focus on line 6. This is it here. Look at line 2. We imported it at line 2. Look at the requirement. We are bringing it from that part here, which is inside the config folder. We are bringing it here and then we are using it here. So it is that please note this keyword define. It has this method called define. You know, sequelize has so many methods. If you look at the method of sequelize, so you have .add hook, after bug create, after bug destroy. You can do so many things with that sequelize instance. If you come down, you will see .define. Can you see define here? So this is the one we are using, right? Because we need to define a model. So let's get that clear. Now we define it and we now assign it to what? To user, which is going to store. This is going to be our what? Our so please let's get that. These are the attributes you are asking for. We have the ID, username, password, email, phone number, and everything down like that to city, gender, address, state, country. We are checking all that, right? So created out of that one come by default automatically, as I said. Now look at it very well. There's something we did here. Now, how is our ID? But in MongoDB, we want to work on the ID now. Let's focus on the ID now. Now, in MongoDB, there is a default information in the database, right? But sequelize does not have that. But we want a situation whereby an ID will be automatically generated as well in sequelize, right? So that is why I am saying we are going to make use of a package in order to achieve that. And that third-party library we are going to be using is what? UUID. UUID. So you can what? I'm importing it here. So which is that I have to what? I have to install it first. So I'm going to come here now and install UUID, right? npm install UUID. Do you get that? So I'm going to do this in order to be able to make use of that package. Why am I doing this? I want an automatically generated ID. I don't want to be using manual, manually written ID like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I don't want that. I want a standard ID. So enter. So it's installing. Okay, so I have my UUID installed in this work. So so now, since I have it installed, I can now make use of it here, right? I'm going to make use of it here. So now,
Mr. Suleiman.
yes, you want to say something?
Yes, please, I have a question.
Okay, ask.
You are so you are using sequelize for this. I thought sequelize was like an extension of Mongoose, like MongoDB Atlas. I thought the way MongoDB auto generates IDs, I thought that sequelize too does the same thing.
No, 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 no. Sequelize, you don't have auto generation of ID generation here, right?
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, it
Okay,
doesn't
thank
do.
you.
Yeah, yeah. So now that is answered. So in order to achieve that, that's why we are importing this UUID, right? So then you can now come here and say the type of ID is going to be what? UUID. So data types.uuid. Remember, you are having this imported from the sequelize. Please don't forget line 1. Before you can have access to data types, as a method, you need to what? You need to install it here. Data types, then you don't need sequelize here anyway. We don't need sequelize. You can even do away with sequelize instance here. We don't need this here. So we only need the data types, right? So data types, we are bringing it, we are installing it from what? From sequelize, so that we can use it to specify the type of our data. So that is very important. So data types dot what? UUID. Then you need to give it a default value. So the default value is now going to be a function of what? Of UUID 4 v4 different forms. We have UUID v4, we have UUID v something. There are different types, but I can remember v4 for now, right? So we are making use of this format of UUID, which is v4. We are calling on it, right? So that's why we are having it here. So we call on it to give us a default value anytime we are what? We are creating a user. So this is going to be creating different ID. Anytime you are creating a user, this function is going to be called and it's going to be giving you random UUID numbers. Do you get that? So then when you say unique to be true, you want it to be unique. So another one that will be generated should not be the same. So you can never have same ID. It's going to be different ID or true. Then you need to set that your ID should be the what? The primary key, right? So that is very important. Actually, all these type, default, unique primary key is going to come with your model. After running that command, it's going to come. You don't even need to, is what you just need to is to just to change the values to this one that I put, right? So that is just that. So then username, data type dot string as well, true, false, data type dot string. You have all these. So I think we are all familiar with this. Then the gender. Let's look at the gender. There's a difference here. For the gender, the data types, you can say data type dot enum is going to be an enum because the value can either be male or what? Or female. Do you get that? So the gender is going to be data type dot enum, then values is going to be male or what? Or female. So this is the syntax. Let's note this syntax. It's going to be in a what? In a square bracket, right? So then you have your address and all that. So then you have this option. Right? This one is optional. This particular curly brace here that start from line 59 and end line 64, it is optional, but it's good that you put it. You are only specifying that if you don't put this, your model will still work, but it's good you put it. What you are doing that you are telling that model name must be user. You are actually enforcing. Is this what you have here is just like an enforcement, right? Then your time stamp, that is actually related to your created art and updated art, you are saying it must be true. It's just like an enforcement, excuse me. It's just like an enforcement. So you are also enforcing sequelize here. So these are optional. Then now that is that. Then from line 67 to line 80, I have explained it in the previous class, but I'm going to mention it again. Why are we doing this with our model? The reason why we are doing this is that we are seeing this user model dot before creates. Before the model is going to be created, we want to do something. And what is that thing? We want to encrypt our password. That is the reason why we are having like this line 67 to line 80. We don't want our password to be the password that the user is putting in the body of the request. Can somebody tell me the reason why we are doing that before I move on? Why do we need this line 67 to line 80? I'm going to explain the syntax, but I'm asking why. We want to encrypt our password. Why are we doing that?
To secure the password.
To secure the password. Yes, that is very correct. To secure the password. Can you explain further, please?
No, when you hash it, it kind of like, usually when you put your password, you have like, let's say, for example, just a name, you understand, a name or number. But when you hash it, it mixes it with different symbols and things like that, so that
Okay.
other people cannot understand it.
Okay. God bless you. So it means that when it is being stored in the database, it's not going to be like the way you entered it in the body of the request, right? So it's going to come with symbols and all that. Like, for example, if your password is maybe Ella123, so when it is getting stored in the database, you are not going to see Ella123 there. You are going to see the encrypted version of it. In other words, the hashed version of it. Is that clear? So that's very correct. So that is the reason why we're now. If the reason why we are doing is that in case hackers, as it has been just said now, in case hackers hacked into our database, they cannot have access to your password because they are not going to see Ella123 there. They are going to see the encrypted version. So it is very difficult for them to carry out any operation because they are not going to see that password there. So you are going to see it as it applies now when we start creating our. So now this is the syntax. Let's master the syntax, right? So user dot before create. We are saying before is thing being returned. Please, the main thing is bcrypt.hash and bcrypt. Okay, let me explain this one. Bcrypt.hash. Now you are hashing the user password. Do you understand? The user now is what is this model now. You got the anybody making use of this model is going to be representing that person as user. User.password, it means the password that is being entered should be hashed. Then this term means that what? A count of number that is going to be hashed. You can have a count of 5 to 15. The documentation, that is what we have there. So the more, the higher the number, the longer it's going to be the encryption. So we can just make use of 10. Can just make use of 10, right? Then after hashing it, what do we need to do? We can now assign that hash. We can now assign it to user.password. So why is this? Because what we have there is password. Can you see here? Password. What the user is going to enter is password. So by the user, let it be equivalent to the what? To the hash. So you are storing the hashed password inside user.password, right? So in case there is error, then you catch this error, throw new error. Is that clear? So that is the syntax. Let's get that. Then line 78 to line 80 is very important. Why are we doing this? There is a reason. This line 79 is the main thing we are doing here. We are saying this user model dot prototype dot valid password. The password by saying, okay, bcrypt.compare sync password. Compare this. This is representing the user, right? The user.password, which is going to be entered in the body of the request. Then the password here is representing the password in the body of the. Hello? Hello? Are we together?
Please come again there. Come again there, please.
Okay.
again.
License. Yes. That is there is representing the password in the model that the user is going to enter. You know, the user, when a user is to be created, is going to enter a particular password. This is what the password is representing, like Ella123 now. Okay, let me do it like this. Let me put something here. Say Ella123. This is representing this password now. Then the this dot password now is the encrypt and at it. This password here is representing Ella123. And this dot password here is representing encrypted password. Now, what we are doing here is that we are comparing the two. You can see it's self-explicit. It's saying bcrypt.compare. Bcrypt is a package that is helping us to do that now. It's comparing Ella123 that is being entered in order to create user and the encrypted password is comparing the two. Now, when is this going to be useful? This is going to be useful when you want to log in. That is when this is going to be useful. It's not going to be useful as at the point of creating the user. It's going to be useful by the time you are logging in, you are going to enter Ella123. But what is in the database as at that time is encrypted password. And before you can be allowed to log in, we need to compare the Ella123 and the encrypted password if it matches. So it is when it matches that you will be allowed to what? To log in. I think it's clear now. Or you have a question again? Is it clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, it's clear now. So that is the essence of this. So as I said, let me just say it again. Line 78 to line 80 only function as at the time you are logging in. It doesn't function when you are creating. Is going to create this 67 to 75 is going to take care of the creation. Then 78 to 80 is going to take care of what? Of logging in, because we need to compare that Ella123 it matches the encrypted Ella123. Is that clear? It matches. So that is that. So let's move on. So this is what you are going to have in your model. Very, very important. So now remember where we left is that we wanted to what? We wanted to create users. So we already have a model already to create our user. So we can create user. Let's come here and create our user. So it's going to be a function. So what's that function? Is going to be equal to what? A callback function, right? Like this, right? So it's going to take what? It's going to take request and response, right? Request and response. Remember, it's a controller. We are not going to have next here because we are dealing with controller now. We don't need next. Operation of that request. This is going to be the endpoint. So we don't need next. It's only request and what? And response. Is that clear? So now we now come here and create our user. Now, in order to create user, you have validated the user. Remember where we are coming from. Let me come back here. Can you see? In order to create user, we validate. Now we want to create, right? Now, since it has been validated, the next thing for us is to what? Is to create it. To create it. Now, in order to create it, we need to make a request. In order to make a request, so we need const what? Const user info to be equal to what? Request dot what? Dot body. You need to make a request. Let me check something there in the middleware. In the middleware here. Okay. Oh, okay, in the middleware. There's something we are missing here. I just remember now. When I wrote request.body, I remember something very important. Do you know that in the middleware here now, we only wrote the form, we only wrote to validate the body of the request. We only wrote the what? The constraints. You can see this is not still active. So there is a particular line of code that we have not written. I just remember now when I wrote request of the body. So before you next line 80, you are going to call on that user schema now, right? And say dot what? Validate async. Please, you can see. And what are you validating? You are validating request.body. I just remember that now. Request.body. Can you see? Very important. So that you request here with this user schema, which we have defined up here. You know, this user schema contains all the constraints for the validation up here. Now, we are now using that to validate the request.body, right? Then when you see abort, you say abort early, rather, abort early, right? And you set it to be what? You set it to be true. This is very important. So, yeah. So here you are. This is, in fact, do you know what? This line 81 is the most important. It is even the line 81 that led us to all what we have above here. So line 81 is the real line of code for the validation. Please don't let us forget it. User schema.validate async is where the validation is taking place. And what is it validating? It's validating the request.what.body. Is that clear? Can I move on? Can I move on? Is that clear? Can I move on?
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. Now, we can now come to the controller. Then inside the controller as well, we also request for the what? For the body. What is in the body? That's going to be the user info. Now, before you create, what are you going to do? You need to check what is in the database first. Do you understand? You need to check what is in the database. Do we have the user already in the database? That's the first thing you must check. So we are going to say const what? Existing user. I want us to understand this thing. I don't want to copy and paste here. Const existing user to be equals to what? We want to confirm if we have an existing user. And what are we going to use that? We are going to use our what? Our user, our model, our user model to do that, to find. You know, we are going to say user. Okay, let me call it user. User model. Let me call it user model. Dot what? Dot find. Can you see? It's not giving me the right imported the user model here. So I need to come up here and import the user model, right? I need to come up here and import it. So I have to come here and see that is stopping me. User model to be equals to what? Require. Now, where is the path to the model? We are here, we are inside the users, we are inside the user controller. That means we need to move out of this folder. We are inside this user controller, so we need to move out from this user folder. How do we move out? We use double dot. We are out of it. Then where are we going? We are going inside the model, right? Model, then slash. Where are we heading to? To the user, right? You click on user. So here you have grabbed the user model. So it is that user model now that you now use. You can see it's active now. When you press dot now, can you see? It's giving you all the options that you can use. One, we need find one. Find one. We need to find one. And what are we finding? We are finding one where, please don't forget where. This is where there is a difference between user model in Mongoose and in sequelize. You know, we use sequelize to define this model, but if it is Mongoose, if it is Mongoose that is used, you are not going to use. For sequelize, you are going to use where. So you're not saying where you put your colon, then you have another curly braces, right? So what are you checking? Let's check by email, because email is unique. So we can use email where email is what? Is equals to what? Is equals to what? User info. User info. Did you get that? Please, let's get this line. We are checking existing user here. That, okay, this model should help us to find whether we have a user that already has this email before it can be allowed to be created. Can you see that? We are finding that. So we now come here and say, if what? If not existing user, that is if we don't have existing user. If not, okay, let's say if existing user first, Abi. If existing user. If existing user, because we are going to check for the negative first before we check for the positive. If existing user, if we have existing user, then what will happen? We are going to have a response. That is response dot what? Dot status. Dot what? Response dot status. Now, who is going to tell me the status here?
Lemon,
If we have an,
if
we have
hello,
a situation whereby we have
hello,
an
Lemon.
existing users, yes?
409. 409.
Okay. Okay, you said we will be checking for negative, and that if statement there is for positive, I think. If it should be
Is
the negative, it should be if not, that is the exclamation mark should come before the existing. If we're checking for negative
negative.
first.
What I mean by negative is that when how would I put it now? When we don't want something to pass. Why what I mean by negative? We don't want that situation to pass. That is what I mean by negative here. I'm talking about we don't want existing user. We want a situation whereby we don't want an already existing user. Move on to the next thing. That's what I mean by negative here. So if existing user, that is, if we have an existing user, then there should be a status. What is going to be that status? Are we getting it? We want to create user, right? See the function here, create user. We want to create user. We don't need to create that user again. So that's why we are checking the database now, using this user model now that is connected to our database now to find if we have an already existing user. So if we have that existing user, we want to respond an error here that a status code now. What is that status code? Yes? Anybody?
409.
No. 409. Okay, 409. That's correct. 409. 409. That means there is a conflicting word. There is a conflict. There is a conflict. That's a conflict. 409 means conflict. It means it is conflicting with an already existing user, and we don't want that to happen. So we say response.status.what? .find1.json. Then we can now have a message. Then what is going to be the message we are going to have? The message is going to be what? User already what? Exists. Abi? User already exists. User already what? Exists, right? So you can put that message. That's just it. So we can move on. So now what's the next thing? So now we have been able to detect that the user exists, and we want to do the next thing. We should just create the user, right? So that is when you can now say const what? can now say const new user now. So this is the new user we are creating now. We have tested for existing user, right? Now we want to create new user now. Const new user is now going to be what? User model. We're going to use that same user what? User model dot create now. Can you see? You have create. You can now create. Now let's create. You can now create. Now what are you creating? What are you creating? You are creating what we have in the body of the what? Of the request, which is what? User info, right? So you can come here and just pass what? User info. That's what we are creating. Do you understand? If you remember, I asked the question in the last class that I asked Daniel. I was saying, can't we just pass user info that we graph on the body of the request here? Do you understand? Directly. He now said, in case you don't want to grab everything, you don't want to grab everything from the body of the request, then you will not pass user info directly here. Are you getting me? So you are going to come up with a curly brace here and say, and start writing. What do you want to pass? You only want to pass the username, for example, and say username, you put column, then you now say user info dot what? Dot username. Can you see that? Then you can come here and say, okay, I want to grab the password and put column, the password. Put column and say what? User info dot what? Dot password. And you see, and you go on and on like that. All the attributes, all the properties. That is if you are selecting what you want in your database. You don't want everything in the body of the request. Do you understand? So the question is that we have defined a model for it already. Even if you are entering another information that is contrary to what we have in our model, it will not even pass. So for me, I don't need to be doing all this. I don't need to be doing all this. You understand? What I need is just what? Is just to pass the user info directly. Do you understand? Just pass the user info. Pass everything. It's everything in the user info because I already created a model and that is what I want. You know, this user model is going to check that. Do you understand? And we already have a middleware that we also check that. So if you are even passing anything that is wrong, all our validation that we have written is going to check that. Do you understand? So you don't need to bother about that. So our database is secure. We are going to maintain our integrity even when we pass everything here. Is that clear? So now, having you are creating at this stage. Now, there's something very important that we are not putting here. I intentionally did that. We are going to have problem if we try running this code like this. Do you know why? Because this user model.find1 and user model.create, they are promises. They are promises. They are promises function. So because they are promises function, you will just discover that this thing will not work. It will just jump to this. This one will not work. Here. Await, very important. Await. You must await this user model. And whenever you are waiting, the function that you are calling must be what? Must be an asynchronous function. So you must put async here, then await this one. So the same way here, you are going to have await. Is that clear before I move on?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear. But I have a little question, please. How do you know when a
Question.
function is an await, like an await function? Like, is there a specific way to know?
Okay. You understand? Node, the language Node, as a point of development, we are being told that Node is asynchronous in nature. So most of the functions you are going to be running, with Node, alongside with all those third-party libraries asynchronous. They are promises. They are promises. They are asynchronous. But despite that, there are some functions that you can run. They give you an option to run some function synchronous. Just to master is those ones that are synchronous, that you have synchronous option to them. That is what you will master. But fundamentally, they are asynchronous in nature. So there's no way you can know than just to like, okay, I know all these functions are asynchronous. Okay, what are the ones? Which ones are the ones that are synchronous, option? Those are the ones you will now master. Do you understand? Like, for example, when you are reading into a file, you have asynchronous function to read into a file, and you have what? Asynchronous function to read into a file. Do you understand? So you have this option for that, and there are so many other ones that you have options. So there's no way you can know that just to master those ones, because the foundation is that they are asynchronous. That is Node.js. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now we have our new user created, so we need to just respond it. Abi, we need to respond with it, but there's something we want to do. As you are creating your user, we can generate a token. We can generate a token for the user. Or you may not generate a token. It's optional. But I think so that when a user is created, he can still make use of that token to log in, despite the fact that as at the time of logging in, we are still going to generate another token. So in your application, it's fine, generate token as at the point of creation, and also generate token as at the point of what? Of logging in. So let us create a token here, because immediately your user is created, you also want to generate a token. That's why we are having it at this line. You can't have it before now. It is when the user is successfully created that you can now generate a token. So what is that package we are going to use to generate a token? Can somebody just remember?
jesonwebtoken.
JSON-webtoken. Thank you. So we are going to have what? npm install what? JSON web what? Token, right? So let's install it. Then we use Bcrypt. I don't think we have installed Bcrypt, so that I will not have problem when we want to run our application. Let me check. It's like we have not. Let me check. Bcrypt, is Bcrypt here? We have not.
No, for now.
We have not. We have not. So let us import, because we have used it in our application. We need to install it. npm install Bcrypt. npm. Okay, it's coming up. Okay, so where are we? We are. Okay. So now, Abi, where are we safe?
jesonwebtoken.
Hello? We are in the user, no, sorry. Okay, user controller. Yeah. So this is where we are. We are creating the user. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so here we are going to install our JWT. So let's call it JWT. Let's call it. Then we say require what? We require what? JSON web token, Rabi. JSON web token, yeah. So we have it there. So here we can come here to use it, right? So we can now say an asynchronous function await. Please don't always forget your await to. This await showed me shege, so I can never forget it again. That is from experience. The more you practice, the more this thing become your second nature. Several times I've always forgotten this await, and it will show me a lot of problem. Before I discover that that's missing. Please don't always forget your await. So you are going to await what? JWT, right? So your JSON web token, which you stored in JWT, you are going to use it to sign. So this sign is a method to create JWT. So JWT has so many words, has so many methods. If you click here now, you will see this is the sign. You also have verify. We are still going to make use of verify to decode it, right? So what we need now is sign. So let me click on sign. So sign. Now, what are you signing? You are signing what? You want to sign and generate a token, right? So now, what you will now put as argument is that what did you want to generate your token from? You are going to make use of some, unique information from the user to generate your what? Your JWT. That's what you are going to be doing. So you will do what? You just open the curly brace, right? Open the curly brace and just say, okay, what do I need? Email is unique. ID is also unique, right? So let me make use of ID. Let me just say hyphen ID. Don't forget to, because we use underscore ID when we are defining our ID in the what? In the model. So the same way you have it in the model is what you are going to have here. So underscore ID, you put your colon, then you say user info. Okay. Is it user info? Is it user info or new user? Hello? Hello? I want to disturb our brain here. Are we grabbing the ID from the new user or from the user info? Yes?
From the new user.
That we want to generate a token, from it. Where are we grabbing it from?
New user.
No, that is wrong. It's from the user info. Because the new user is already in the database, right? Is already in the database. And from the information in the database, okay. We can generate it from new user. From new user that has been created, then dot what? Dot ID. That's correct. Dot ID. Yeah, because we already have that user with an ID or email already in the database. So from that information in the database now, we now want to generate a token from it. Yes, that's correct. So new user dot ID, then that is that, then comma, then we also make use of email. You have column. We are going to be combining email and ID. Then new user dot what? Dot email, right? So dot email. So this is it. Then when you are creating JWT from ID and what? And email, there's something that will make this JWT to be unique for security purpose. Do you understand? So that when hackers get into database and they are able to see, anyway, we are not even storing this. But let's assume a token is generated for a user and somebody sold the token and want to use it to log in. You understand? By the time the person want to log in, something is going to fail the person. And what is that thing? It is the secret key that makes this application unique. It is the secret key that makes this application unique. So we need a secret key here, right? So we are
Please, I
going
have,
to
I
have
have a
Omar
question,
here.
please.
Okay.
What's the difference between having a secret key and a token, as in the JWT token? Is it not for the same purpose?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
can you
Can you
hear
hear
me?
me?
I can.
I've gotten
Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. You got my question, right?
Having a token and a secret key. Yes. Do you know what? A secret key is embedded in your what? In the email, and the secret key makes the token. combination of the ID, email, and the secret key makes the token. Do you understand? It makes that token to be unique to your application because the same user can use the same ID and the same email, in another application. So, but what will make this to be unique to your application is the secret key that is combined with the ID and email needed. It is compulsory whenever you are generating a token. If you don't put it here, you are going to have an error that will request for the secret key. Is that clear? Is that clear?
No, please, can you come again once more?
Okay. I just said now that this secret key in combination with the email, let me just enter it first so that we use it to explain. Let's say my secret key is let me say anything, and it can be anything. Let me say old school. Let me say old school. Okay. This is my secret key, old school. Now, this old school combined with email, combined with ID, we form the token. We form the token. It's going to be used to. We are doing that because we want this token to be unique to our application, not to be used in another application. So that's why secret key is a secret key to our application, to our API. Is that clear? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it's clear, but I still have a question. Like, does it mean that whenever I'm going to be creating a user, for example, if I'm creating a user, I must be giving this exactly this
Yes.
old school
Your voice
as
is
the
cracking.
secret
Uh-huh.
key?
Hello?
Can you hear me
Your
now?
voice is going. Okay. Oh, yeah, quickly,
Okay,
quickly.
I mean that, does it mean that this old school must be provided as the secret key before I can log in into my, before I can create user? That's what it means, yeah?
Yes, before you are, no, excuse me. Immediately a user is being created, a token is going to be generated. A token is going to be generated. Then what do we want to use this token for? By the time we want to write this login code, now let me come to user route. By the time we want to write this login code in this middleware dot validate login info, you can see, look at it, validate login info. We are going to request for the token here. Do you understand? Before you can be allowed to log in, we are still at the point of creating the user now. We are not logging in now. So as at the time you want to log in now, we are going to request for a token. So that token we are going to request for is what we are generating here. Do you get that?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Hey, it's what we are generating here. But I just told you that we can generate token in another stage. When we get there, I will tell you. So let's move on because we are 2 hours now. We are 2 hours now. Let's do this and let's test it. Let's create a user. Then we know the next thing to do. Now, public will not have access to my what, to my secret key. So I am going to put it inside a what, the .f environment, inside my environment variable. It says dot what, .env dot what. I will now have jw. I need to what? I need to have .f here. I'm going to require .f, .env, right? And .what? .config here. Are we there? Are we together? I need to my environment variable now. I will go there and put it there. I will now put JW underscore secret here. JWT underscore secret. So because it was hot school, right? So these are now let's go back to our controller. So that hot school is going to be grabbed here. We need to secure our secrets, our JWT secrets. So that's that. So now, having created our token, so we can have our response message. You can now say response.what.status. We are done with our creation. Response.status. What's going to be the status? 201, right? Or 200. Then .what? .json, right? Then in our JSON, we can now have our what? Our new user to be generated, right? We can have new user. Okay, before new user, let's have message. Let's have message. Let's have message. Our message is that what? User created. Or let's just user created, right? Then user created. Then after that, what do we need again? So that's all. Then we also want our token. Let's have the token first. Token. We also need the token. Comma. So is that clear? So we want to see all this in our response. The message that user has been created, the token, and so we are done. Okay, now having done that, we need to export it, right? Don't let us forget. So that our function now export it. So we have module dot exports to be equals to what? Create user, right? But mind you, is going to be in the curly brace because it's a function. Don't let us forget that. So now, if you come to your user route, you will see that it is going to be active. Can you see? It's now. So let's test it now. Let's test it now and see if it's going to work or not. Are we ready? Okay, let's start our database so that we can start node app.js, our application. Enter. Okay, database connection 1,000, right? So let's come here. Let's come to, I have some collections here already. Collection, mobile sales, sign, create user. Let's call this one 5,000. Abi is 5,000 now. 5,000, right? So 5,000. So this is a database. I'm pointing to a database that I have before. I already have some users there already, but I'm going to take this one now. Then we check if it works. So this column. Hello. Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I
Yes.
can hear you.
Hello.
Loud and clear. Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Now this caller Wale username, it has been I've created this particular user before. You can see we have all our attributes here that we define our model, right? Let me bring this one down so that you can see it very well. You see, we have username, password, email, phone number, gender, everything must be there. You have it in your model. If you fail to put any one of them, there's going to be an error. So as I said, this user is already existing. Now let's send it now and see if this user is going to be created. Because in our code, we already wrote an application that if this user is existing, then an error should be thrown that it already exists. So let's do that now. Send. Okay, we have an error here. Oh, cannot. Okay, let me check. Where do we have? Let me see our middleware. Let me check our middleware. Like, okay, we have it here. Post.signup, validate user, control.create user. Okay. Oh, we have not actually asked our application to use this. Hello?
Yeah, with you.
This user route that we are exporting here, we are not telling our application to use it. That's why we are having the error. We have not imported it in our application. So our application is not seeing it at all. So let's go back to our app. We are going to what? Consult user route. Are we there? We have this. Then from our app, we say dot from the current directly slash where. Where are we entering? We are entering into the what? Into the user, right? Folder, then user, then slash what? User route, right? So now we have imported it. Then we can now ask our application to use it, right? So where are we going to write it? Immediately after the creation of the application, we can now come here and say app const, can say app dot what? Dot use. We are going to use slash, right? Slash what? Users, right? For the what? For user route. The application rather, right? So let's go and run it now. Do you understand this?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we are using from the hub now. This is going to be the root now. Slash users. Then if you look at the route, we also have slash sign up. Let's get this now. So users slash sign up. So because I made some changes now, we are going to start it again because I'm not using node more. Node app.js. Oh, what happened? App has started running. Database connection is successful. What happened? Route require a callback function, but go an object undefined. Bombing. Line 9 of our user route. Let's see, there's an error there. Line 9 user.router.posts middleware. Oh, sorry, it's trying to relate with this one. Let's make it inactive. Is that clear? We are not doing any this with it. That's why we are having that error. So I've commented it out. So let's move on. We are not logging in now. Start. Okay, good. We have a successful connection now. Let's go to our this thing. Let me bring this down. So let's try to create this now. Send. Connection was possibly closed by a peer. Okay. Const existing users are find one. Okay. 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 You know what? Existing user. Okay. Database validation is successful. Okay. Okay. You see, you know what is in that database, and is not actually reading it. Where email is user info dot email. Okay. Cannot read properties of undefined. Let me see. Okay. It cannot read email. Okay, let's go to our controller and see what is happening here. Where if we are trying to read the email. Okay. You know what? Let me open the workbench and see what we have. Oh. Hello, are we there? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we are with you.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what is happening here? We have not created the table. Do you understand? We have not created the table, a user model here, and we have a migration, that we want to use to create the table. So the table has not even been created, and we want to read the table, right? Can that be possible? No. Is that at this line now, he's trying to read the table and check if there's an existing user. But the point is that we don't have that table there. We are not actually run this. What is happening? So let's run. How do we run it? So we are going to make use of MPS sequelize, right? So MPS sequelize, CLI, right? npm sequelize CLI. Then what do we do? Who can remind me what we are going to do?
Can you mute?
There's a background noise there. Yes, the person should mute, please. Okay, good. Now we are going to run nps sequelize. Now we want to migrate, we want to create that table first. So how do we do that? We are going to use db migrate. That's the syntax. db migrate. So nps sequelize, that's the code we are going to run, and it's going to what? Generate that particular table. Let me run it. db migrate. Okay. Okay, you can see created. You can see, right? So that's the first thing we are supposed to do. If you go to our work, if it has really been created or not. Workbench. Let's go to workbench. Let's check the database if we really have it there. So this is the data.
Sulaimon, I want to ask you, because at a point you were kind of, can you hear me?
I'm with you.
So why we are getting the error the other time was that you updated the user model and you didn't run that migrate command, right?
Yes, the migrate
To update the migration, right?
table will not be created. Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand? I have not run the migration command, which means that the table has not even been created at all. And we are trying to check that table. So that can never be possible, right? So we need to run that migration command, and if you look at it here, if you look here now, if you look at the table here now, we have run it and we have what we have. Let me just do something here and check. Let me check something here. So I'm going to run use what? Remind me, use what? We are going to use what? I want to check that table and see what is there. Use what?
Use database first.
Inventories. Use inventories. So that passes. So we are using that database inventories. Then after running inventory, we want to select. You have to select all from what? Select all from what? From user.
The table name, user.
So no, users is plural. Your table must be plural. Users. Is that clear? Please don't forget that all your table must be plural.
But
Select
but
all from
but you
users.
s- you s- you first in the
Model.
migration file, I think you forced it to be user.
I force the model to be user, not the table.
User. Okay.
The model to be user, not the table. Is that clear?
Okay.
So, internally,
Yeah.
when you have a model to please get that. That's the standard. Table must be plural. The model is going to be singular. Is that clear? So, Control Enter. Okay, this is it. Now, because I told you, I already have some information there already. So I have some user that has been created already. So this is it. So, and the migration I've done, before under this database, and I'm still migrating user table again under the same database. Do you understand? So I guess there's going to be a conflict there, but let's run it and see. Let's run it and see. I would have used another database entirely. Do you don't want us to start having issues? Let's create another database. Let's say what is it? What's the command now? Create database, right? Let's call the database, what do we call it now? Let's call it sales record. Just call it, okay, let's any name, sales record. Create database 6 record. Control Enter. Right? It passes. So we have 6 record database. If you refresh now, so we have that 6 record. Let me check. Okay, look at it. We have 6 record now. So 6 record. Sales record, right? Use sales record. Okay, enter. Sorry, I'm not using control enter. Okay, pass. So now the sales record is active. Now let's go back to our application. Instead of inventory, now instead of inventory, that's where we have that information. Yeah, instead of inventories, now I'm going to change this one to sales record now. Hello?
We are with you.
Hello?
We are with you.
Okay. I need to be very sure. Okay. Now, sales record. So let's run the migration now with sales record now. Great, right? Okay, so it's migrated now to sales record. If you go to your workbench now, you refresh. When you refresh now and you come to sales record and click on table, you will see users there. Can you see? You have users here now. And you have this sequelize meta that is being created. It wasn't there before. You have sequelize.
I don't. Sulaiman, can you hear
If
me?
you run, yes, I
Hi,
can hear
Sulaiman.
you.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's me. Your screen is like it's not
delaying.
showing immediately. Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's network. It's network. It happens like that. But can you see my workbench now?
I think it's
Can you see my workbench?
yeah, we can see it now. I think it's the same for everybody. Probably catch up with the replay.
Yes. But you can see my work. You can see my workbench now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see that users table has been created now? Then we have a sequelize meta table. This one is going to be grabbing all the migrations. Whatever migration you make, this is going to be the table that will be grabbing everything, that will be storing everything like a version control. So you can always revert back to the initial migration. Everything is going to be stored in this sequelize meta table. Users now, select all from users. I like using capital letters. Select all from users. You understand? If you select all from users and you control enter, look at it. Can you see? We have, oh, what is happening here? Oh, we didn't edit our migration. Can you see? Let's check our migration. We only did that. Oh, look at it. See what we have in our migration file. Can you see? We are supposed to have exactly what we have in our model, in our migration file. So we forgot to add that. Please, let me just do that now, please. Let me copy and paste, so that really gone. Let me go to the users. Let me copy from here. So it's very important. Please note that whatever you have in your migration, the model, as we said before, is the template, right? Let me see. Don't let me copy wrongly. Don't worry. Update. Then it closes here. Then we can now have a sync. Hold on, I'm coming. I don't want to copy wrongly. We are only copying this.
Please, is this your code available?
Yes, it's available. It's available. Let's make this one work first. It's available.
How can we
So this is
access it
it.
now?
You can access it now. Hold on. Let me delete this. So you can see. Don't worry, we talk about that. So let's make this one work. So we have our ID, username, password. Correct, just exactly the way we have it in our in our model. So please, I'm going to that migration that we did now. I'm going to revert it. So how do we revert it?
I tell you,
npx
Binyamino, say as we dey run 1080, 1026, e dey sweet una.
sequelize. Let
Una
me just go
prepare
back.
710, 540. Yes, now.
Hello,
Like on tell me no.
who
You
is that?
are mute now.
Who is there? Who is there? Who is that? Who is that? Okay. Are we there? Okay. Now, it is good that this is that operation that we did. We want to cancel it, right? To put column and write undo. You get that? Look at this. Please. It's good that that thing happened. So it's giving us an opportunity to learn. You run db migrate, then undo, then you press enter. See what will happen now. Can you see? Can you see? Reverted. That migration file. This is the number of the migration. You can see this number here is what we have in here. Then you are reverting it. Remember what we had before is migrated. Now we are having reverted. So we are not going to run it again because our migration file now, we've edited it and we put what is supposed to be there now. So you can now say nps enter. Oh, UUI default is not defined in the migration. So it's good we get all these things, look at it. So as you are trying to work, you see anywhere you make error, you are going to see, look at it now. You see UUIDV for here that we are calling here, we did not define it here. The way we define it in the model, that's why we are having error here again. So let's go back to our model and go and copy that definition there. It's here. We already have it here. You can see UU const. This is it. We did not define it here. See, copy, and we are going to have it in our this thing here. So we are going to have it under here. Now look at it. We have defined it here. Now we can now make use of it here. You can see. Let's move on and migrate now. Okay, you can see that has affected. So we have migrated now. So please, you need to understand these things. So when you have errors, you know where the error is coming from. So that's why I don't want to just say, oh yeah, take the code, go and look at it. Do you understand? We need to understand as we are working with it, having errors, we are learning. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So good. So we have it migrated now, right? So we can now go and check now. Let's check our table. Let's go to our workbench and check. Control enter. Now, yeah, good. Now our user table now has all the column now: ID, username, password, email, phone number, gender, address, city, state, country, created out of data. Now that's correct now. So now we can now go ahead and create a user now. Initially, we were not running the migration and we were trying to create user. So that was the initial error we had. Now that we have the table now, we can now create the user. So let's go back to the body of our request now and create the user. Do you understand? So let's go back to where is it? Okay, this is it. Create user. Good. Now let's create now. So we want to create caller Wale and all that. So let's check. Send. Oh, we've not started our data. Sorry, we've not started our application. So node app .js. Oh, what again now? Once existing user, properties of undefined, reading email, controller.js cannot read properties of undefined reading email. User model email. We have email in our user model now. Userinfo.email. We have email there now. This is email. We have email. We have email, user info dot email. Find one where email is this. Okay, let me compare something here. Is there anything that we are not adding? I think everything is fine. So it's just a slight something there. Email. We have email here in the controller, user controller. Where's the user controller? User controller. User controller. When we are creating user, create user. Yes. Find one where email is user info dot email. That's correct now. Is the syntax not correct? Bracket, bracket. This one is embedded. Let me check. Yes, this is embedded in this one. In the email user info dot email. That's correct now. Await is awaiting and is syncing here. What is now the problem? Why is he not reading it? And this one is active. Let me check again. It's active. Dot find one. Yes, it's active. Supposed to find it. Yes. Okay. Cannot read it. Let me check the body of the request again. We have email. Okay, the email is valid. So email is valid and is reading it. What can be the issue? What can be the issue? You're supposed to create it, right? Supposed to create it. Okay, you know what? Without checking it, without checking the email, let me just create first. Do you understand? I want to do away with this condition of checking the existing user and let's create and see if there's going to be a creation, right? So we are just creating directly, right? Without checking the body of the what? Of the requests. So let's do that and see. Then we know where the problem is coming from. Control C. app.js. Okay. Let's go back to the body of the request and create now. Users.create send. User.username cannot be known. Oh, is not grabbing the body of the request. Where does it? Okay. Okay, do you know what this error means? It's not grabbing the body of the requests. Are we not grabbing the body of the request? Let me see our controller again. Oh, but we have body parser now. Let me check our app. Oh, let me check. App.js. Oh, that's why we did not have body parser again. Why this body parser again? It gave us issue the last time that we did class 2. We did not have body parser here, so he's not grabbing what is in the body of the request. Do you get that? So here we are going to have body parser and we are going to install it first. Oh, do we get where the problem is coming from now? npm body parser. So we install body parser. Good. Then we can now require it here. You can say const body parser require body parser, right? So we have our body parser. Because we don't have body parser, it's not grabbing it. That's where use, right? And say app dot use. What is he using? He's using body what? Sorry, it's not going to be in braces. He's going to use body what? Body parser dot what? Dot JSON. Are we together? Are we learning from the errors? Are we there? Hello? Right? So let's go back to our controller and let's comment this out again, because that's the reason why we are having that error. So we need to check if there is an existing user. So we can now start our application. We now have our body parser now. Let me check again. We have our body parser, app.use body parser.json. So we have this. Okay, good. So guys, are we still there? Let's clear now and run our node app.js. To our body of request and see. Then we can now run. Send. Good. Now, are we there? Hello? Hello, guys? Hello?
Yes, 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 yes. We can hear you.
Can you hear? Can you hear me,
Yes,
guys?
yes.
Okay, can you see it works now? Our user has been created successfully now. If you look at the user now, you will see that a message has been created. A user created. We have a token here that has been generated. Then we have the new user now. You can see, if you look at the password, you can see the password has been encrypted. Can you see it here? It has been encrypted. This is an encrypted password. Meanwhile, the password that is here is caller12345. But what we are having here is what? Is the what? Is the so whenever you are trying to log in again, now we are going to compare this and this. That was the in the model. So it's going to compare this password and this password. So is it clear now? Okay. So if you come to your workbench and you try to select what is in the database, this information would have been in the database. Let's do that. Select all from user control, enter. Wow, can you see it now? We have a user now. We have a user now. Can you see? This is the user. So this is the user. So we have been able to create user. Let's create another user, but that's very important so that we can
Moi,
check for
j'avais dit Snapchat
functionality
était
here.
normal. Après, ton Snapchat, tu pas qu'à tu vas juste. Mais moi, j'avais dit Instagram était too much, da.
Who is that?
Yes, Snapchat, moi, j'ai dit normal. Après, ton
I
Snapchat,
can't hear. Who is that?
mais moi, j'ai dit Instagram était too much.
Speaking Chinese in my
Yes,
class.
particulier. Là, too much.
Victor.
Sorry for this.
Obina Victor. You can mute your
I'm
mic
so sorry,
now.
my bro, for the noise. I didn't know this thing was.
Okay. So can you get it now? This is working now. So we can try to create another user. Let's say Victor23, then let's say the password is Victor234. Let's say the email is victor@gmail.com, and let's say the number is something at random, mail, address, let's say Victor Street. Let's say the city is what? Victor, where is your city now? Tell us.
Put
Eh?
put Abuja.
Abuja, okay. Abuja. No, where in Abuja? The state is going to be okay, federal capital. Okay, let's put Abuja there. Okay, let's put Abuja. Let's put Abuja. Let's put FCT here.
FCT.
Let's put FCT here. Then Nigeria. Okay, so this is it. We want to create Victor. Now let's assume Victor forget to put username. Let's see what happens. You know, our joy is taking care of that. In our joy, we wrote a message that. Do you remember? Good. Let's test that now. Send. Okay. There's a disconnection, maybe because of network and all that. Okay. Now let's send now. Send. What is happening again? We have just created a user now. Changed. Okay. Let me check. What is wrong again?
Are you not supposed to reconnect to the?
Okay. What is it throwing? Username cannot be okay. Username cannot be empty. Okay, but it's supposed to come with an error message now. It's not supposed to be printing all these things. Okay, we are going to test that later. Let me fill the username. Victor Abi. Victor, let's create it first. Send. Let me reconnect. Okay. Let's now connect. Okay, that has been created. Something, right? So that has been created. So that is how you continue creating your users. Continue creating your users. But I want a situation whereby an information is entered. But no problem, we check on that later. So because time has actually gone. So we are going to stop here, right? We are going to stop here. So we continue from here. Where in our next class now, because time has already gone. I don't know this is going to take up. Now is that in our next class we are going to be making use of this line 5. This line 5, let me uncomment it. We are going to be creating code for the validate login for when you want to log in, and for you to be able to log in successfully. So we are going to be writing this in our next class. So I don't know if we can have that tomorrow morning. Is it possible for us to have that tomorrow morning? Let's conclude on that now, right? So I'm going to stop recording.
In the morning by what time?